10 gut-churning but aesthetically brilliant anime. The majority of anime is based on mangas, video games, and real-life events, while the rest are entirely independent works. This sort of origin calls for a cinematic translation that remains true to the source and honestly reflects the writer's or creator's message behind the work. In most of these stories, horror, violence, and gut-churning gore don't just exist to appease goreheads or target a niche audience. They are an essential part of the narrative and shed more light on the subtle dramatic effects that the author sought to employ. To cut out or tone down any of these themes is equal to demeaning their creativity and effort. Fortunately, this portrayal has seen a dramatic shift in the past few decades. Initially, animes used random blood splatter to create horror, but animes became visually aesthetic with technological advancements. CGI helped in the efficient cinematization of swift fight scenes while making the entire film or series visually rich and enjoyable. Computer-generated visual aesthetics enhanced the setting and overall feel by making the scenery more realistic. In this video, we'll be discussing some of the greatest and goriest animes that are stunning to look at and combine the love for honest storytelling with the hunger for appealing violence. Since we have already covered the popular animes of the 80s in other videos, we'll keep our focus on the ones that came later.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Don't move an inch. What the hell?
Kite, 1998. The brutal double murder of her parents left Sawa orphaned. Detectives Akai and Kaney, who arrived at the crime scene, adopt the young girl. Akai seems like a good guy, but his intentions behind assuming Sawa's guardianship are soon revealed. He develops a forced physical relationship with her and repeatedly forces her to have intercourse during his guardianship. He also trains her to become an assassin who'd do his dirty work. The rationale behind this is simple. Fewer people would suspect a pretty schoolgirl of committing cold-blooded murders. However, Sawa meets a fellow assassin, Oburi, and the two instantly vibe together and fall in love. Will Akai let the couple live the life they're dreaming of? The ending will leave you surprised. Kite was written and directed by Yosuomi Umetsu for Japanese media as an original video animation or OVA. The story was also adapted in 2014 in a live-action movie starring Samuel L. Jackson. Kite is one of the most controversial animes because it shares its borders with hentai and involves an underage girl. These very emotional scars provoke little Sawa to become a ruthless killer, without which the story would have lost its gravity. However, the uncut and censored versions don't have many differences. The color scheme and shadows shot used by Umetsu bring in realism and supplement the violence and bloodshed. Had these cinematic techniques not been employed, we wouldn't be talking about it. The OVA reaches its peak in terms of violence at the famous men's washroom scene and remains sexually exploitative throughout the runtime. The uncut version has some alarming scenes, and it is advisable only for the veteran viewer of anime. The Dark Myth, 1990. Takahashi is a young boy who's haunted by nightmares of his father's brutal death. Although a pale and young boy, he is the living incarnation of Atman, or the human spirit's enemy, a power that the nefarious Kikuchi clan wants for itself.
You are Atman.
Atman?
You are now tied to Brahman, who is the foundation of the universe. You become the Tenrinjo, the king of Holy Revolution.
This kid, who looks like a boy in his early teens, becomes the center of a grand battle between evil and good and will have to become more than what he is to fight the god of darkness. Although he is guided and helped by an older man, it ultimately remains Takahashi's fight. At the beginning, we'd tell you that this one is not for the casual anime watcher, and one needs to be a true lover of anime to understand the various themes of the film. This fantasy horror anime is about a boy and his one-man warfare against the darkest powers of Japanese mythology. The film also includes elements from Hindu, Brahmanical, and Buddhist mysticism. while showing the crazed frenzy of monsters and hungry ghosts. What makes it a visually rich experience is the meticulous and educated portrayal of the characters it shows. For instance, the 8-handed horse head god is a new milestone in terms of detailed visual aesthetics. We'd call such scenes an invention of stunning imagery. However, this beautiful piece of work about Japanese mystery, mythology, and folklore remains mostly underrated. Short Piece, 2013. It is an anthology of 4 anime shorts. Possessions is a story about Tsukumogami spirits of common household tools that gain souls after being used for 100 years. A young traveler is confronted with these spirits when a storm strikes him. The short was nominated for Best Animated Short at the 86th Academy Awards. Combustible is a story of a young aristocratic woman, Okawa, and her childhood lover, Matsukichi, who is now a firefighter. The anime talks about the conflict between love and honor according to Japanese culture. Gambo is about a white bear and his love for an innocent little girl and how he defends the royal family from a mysterious flesh-eating giant. A Farewell to Weapons is based on an apocalyptic Tokyo where men are searching and deactivating battle machines and killer robots after a long-ended war. It's based on a 1981 manga by Katsuhiro Otomo. Different filmmakers directed all these stories. Katsuhiro Otomo oversaw the project. There's a strange peculiarity about the feel of these 4 animes. Upon watching it, many viewers noticed that these looked like parts of a film, almost as if they entered the cinema while a movie was already playing and left without seeing the ending. However, the shorts feel complete and don't demand surplus closure. The one common theme that binds these is Japan itself, and the animes are spread across different eras of Japan, from ancient times to the apocalyptic age. The astounding animation with beautiful visual angles makes the settings authentically Japanese, which is essentially the core theme. It is noteworthy that despite being based on different timelines, all the 4 animes effectively hold on to their essence, and the credit shall go to the animation employed by their respective directors. Amon, Apocalypse of Devilman, 2000. Tokyo is engulfed in fear and paranoia with the revelation that demons walk the face of the earth disguised as humans. People start killing anyone who they suspect of being a demon. This dark side of humanity is as devilish as the devil itself. In one such attack, Miki Makimura is killed by a violent mob and her head decapitated. When Akira finds out about this, his inner demon, Amon, unleashes its wrath upon all those who are part of the grisly murder. After avenging his cause, the inner demon subsides, but a fierce battle awaits him with Ryo Asuka, the leader of all demons. To give you a backstory, Amon, the greatest warrior of hell, tried to possess Akira, but Akira's sheer goodness kept Amon trapped inside his human body, and now Akira can use Amon's strengths. The anime is based on a manga published in 1999 in Japanese media magazine called Magazine Z. It is a story about a man with relentless powers and abilities who has lost the only thing that he held dear. And why? Just because of a rumor. So the gore and violence in the anime are tools to cinematize his feelings of grave remorse and mammoth revenge. The vengeful Devilman leaves no stone unturned to achieve his goals. These heavy themes are well reflected in the terrific animations. The devil in the anime is scarier than most devils in feature films. Even when shot from a distance, the facial features are clearly visible and pronounced. What is most commendable about the animation is the eerie aesthetic and atmosphere builds the required sense of fear and tension.
I'm not crying. I'm not crying!
Ichi the Killer, Episode 0, 2002. Ichi is a well-mannered young man who is bullied by people around him. After escaping this traumatic ordeal on a daily basis, he goes home to his parents. And every night, he is rebuked and mocked for his falling performance in academics. One day in class, young Ichi dissects a frog and learns that he's turned on by violence. With this unsettling truth, he goes on a rampage by killing and disemboweling animals. Ichi becomes a captive of his own mind until one day, he's noticed by a gang of criminals that wishes to use his innate thirst for sadism and blood. Ichi the Killer Episode 0 is a prequel and origin story of the manga Ichi the Killer, written and illustrated by Hideo Yamamoto. This anime is very believable and convincing, as history tells us that this is how serial killers are usually born. They grow through a traumatic past and have an urge of the innate for the unnatural. Ichi went through a similar phase until one day, and he realized what he truly was, a monster of his own making. As an anime about the patience and violence of the unstable mind, it's a well-told story. Ichi is a man full of paradoxes, and therefore his soul is both dark and full of light. Likewise, many of the violent scenes have been shown in 2 colors. This kind of visual choice converges the focus of the audience into exactly what the director wanted. The events told are gory and grotesque, but the description is done with artistic style and visual brilliance. To oversimplify the anime would be saying that it is about sex, insanity, violence, and blood, the prime ingredients of an action horror anime. The Island of Giant Insects 2020. Students from Hosho Academy School go out of town for a field trip, but their plane crashes, and they wash ashore on a mysterious island, and the students get scattered. The island seems sans human and animal populations. They soon find out why. The island is home to enormous flesh-eating insects of all kinds, from butterflies and wasps to spiders. As bodies start piling up, one student named Oribe Mutsumi turns out to be a dark horse. She takes an interest in insects and uses her knowledge and wits to survive the island's murderous insects till the time help doesn't arrive. The film is an OVA and adapts the first 9 chapters of the manga by the same name. The story and lack of enough dialogues pose an issue for the movie, but it would sell on its visual quality. The computer-generated insects seem to have been crafted after thorough research with decent animation quality. They seem accurate and look precise. The deaths are graphic, but this was necessary to build the tension that the manga wanted to create when it was penned down. These deaths were well portrayed in scenes where giant butterflies killed school kids with stings the size of an elephant's trunk, or wasp larvae potent enough to eat them. One strange but interesting aspect of the visual aesthetic is the portrayal of violence from a sexual angle. A number of sequences seem to suggest that the bugs were trying to mate with the female students forcefully, although in reality it was just the particular camera angles and some intelligent framing. Mononoke. Feudal Japan is plagued with spirits, or mononoke, walking the face of the earth. An anonymous wanderer roams across the scenic and beautiful Japan to find these mononoke and slay them with his numerous tools and vast knowledge of the supernatural. However, the mononoke can only be slain after learning their katachi, makoto, and kotowari. Katachi means form, makoto is truth, and kotowari equals reason or cause. This anonymous man, who is known to humanity by the name of Medicine Seller, will try to uncover the mystery behind the existence of Mononoke. Mononoke is known in the anime world for its radical and unorthodox art and innovating visual aesthetics, with pastel color settings spread all over the screen as if taken away from the mind of an artistic child. The series feels visually stunning. However, the refreshing visuals shall not fool you into believing that it's cottagecore and everything will be mushy and happy. It's a spin-off of the horror anthology series Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales and is every bit as scary as the original. Takashi Hashimoto was the character designer and director of the animation of Mononoke. His novel digital animation techniques brought new life to this horror series about murders, the supernatural, and history. Trivial environmental details such as wind, rain, and snow have been duly represented. And this unusual animation style is employed to describe the psychological orgy of murders and ghosts. This sort of visual anarchy was absolutely perfect to picturize enchanting tales of shock and horror. To us, it's a marvelous video. Puppet Princess 2000. Princess Rangiko's father created puppets with extraordinary abilities, including some warrior puppets. Her family is mercilessly massacred by Lord Karamata, who wanted her father's legacy in life's work. Rangiko seeks revenge, and she goes to a noted illusionist for help. But after finding out that he's dead, she takes the help of a ninja named Manajiri. Rangiko can control and manipulate the warrior puppets, but this leaves her vulnerable to direct attacks. Manajiri and Rangiko set out on their journey towards Lord Karamata, but are 2 fighters and a bunch of puppets enough to take down a lord and his men? The 42-minute OVA anime is based on a manga written and illustrated by Kazuhiro Fujita. Unlike most of the other titles featured on this list, Puppet Princess is a subtle mixture of comedy and violence. Scenes where the eyes are shown with weirdly shaped pupils, or where the teeth transform into fangs, bear a bit of both genre. Fight sequences and violence have been created with artistic style and do justice to the manga, but the scenic beauty of the landscape could have been better. However, Princess Rangiko's emotions and facial expressions are very well captured by the designers, and they simultaneously look surreal and real. Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust 2000. Baron Meyer is the nobleman of vampires who has abducted Charlotte. Her father Elburn requests D, a Dhampir vampire hunter, to get his daughter back at all costs. Dhampir are people born out of mating between a vampire and a human. This time, D faces competition from the Marcus brothers, who have also been tasked with the same objective.
Tell me your name. Mine's Borgoff. Borgoff Marcus.
Hated by vampires for his job and hated by humans for the blood that runs in his veins, D must go beyond his limits to achieve the unachievable. The anime is based on a manga by Hideyuki Kikuchi and was directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri. At the outset, we'd love to tell you that we saved the best for last. This is one of the best animes of the era it was made in. Even after 20 years of technological advancements in CGI and other visual effects, there have been very few animes that effectively capture the intricacies and details of settings and characters the way this one did.
Ability, however, is less than impeccable under the circumstances.
Apart from the breathtaking visuals of violence and massacre, the characters were drawn with artistic marvel and genius. Throughout its runtime, places, people, and events feel so realistic that it gets eerie. As a high-octane dark fantasy anime, director Kawajiri has used supernatural elements like werewolves, shapeshifters, and vampires. In addition to these, there is ample swordplay, blood splatter, violent fights, and some flawless acrobatics. We were thrilled to see how each of these varied themes was gracefully picturized and animated. It all looks effortless and swift, with not a drop of blood out of place or focus. Watch it to believe it. Japanese anime doesn't seek to become Disney, and it is an entirely different world itself. This is the precise reason why it has followers and fans all over the globe. However, some would argue that anime is more of an acquired taste, but trust us, anybody can become an anime connoisseur because of the vast geography of themes it covers. Higurashi, When They Cry, 2006 to 2013. Keiichi Maebara is a young boy who has moved to the small village of Hinamizawa as an exchange student. It is like any other village with some humble and helpful folk. In the name of a school, the village is just one classroom and all the kids study together, irrespective of their age and standard. However, the normal-looking village holds a dark secret. Every year at the festival of Watanagashi, one person goes missing and another is found murdered. Maebara soon realizes that his friends at school are not really his friends, but is Maebara what he seems to be? The anime is one of the best attempts as far as animated psychological thrillers go. It's about contradicting realities and needs the viewer's constant attention if they wish to grasp the sequence of events. This complex theme is supported by the animation quality and mindfulness that raises the bar of mystery. With split-second shifts in shots, from mushy teen emotions to violent outbursts, it keeps the viewer both thrilled and exhausted at the same time. When They Cry starts on an extremely high note in terms of violence, and then keeps a mellow tone until the end, when the violence breaks all barriers and soars to heaven-breaking heights.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.